Wooden base. Pine base. Wooden base. Pine base.
And it gets your face like warmed up.
Super serious.
Where nothing fun or funny ever happens.
This is a super serious thing.
I don't even like dogs.
Super serious. Recording. Here we go.
Go. Super serious dog podcast. Welcome back, everybody. As you guys can see, if you're watching the video, it's just me and Courtney today.
Just
no
us.
guests, just us. But we have a really fun topic in store for you guys today. But before we do that, we also have some really fun announcements. So, first order of business, Spotify. We are officially on Spotify. So if you're listening to us on some other app, but you would prefer to use Spotify because that's your go-to, we are on it now. Hell yeah, go
And
us.
if you just found us on Spotify, like, good job, because I think we just got on here.
Yeah.
So
There's lots of people who are waiting for that. It just, Spotify takes a little bit longer to get on. It's a thing. Anyways, but yeah, the other really cool, exciting news is that we have just unlocked 2 of our Patreon episodes, so you guys can get a taste of like what goes on behind closed doors, if you will. I guess behind
in the
paywalls.
super serious part of our podcast.
Yes. So Courtney told me that you don't have to be a Patreon to watch them. You can just go to patreon.com and then search for us and find those episodes.
Yep. You don't even have to like give them your email. You don't have to do anything. You just scroll down on our page and you look for the episode called Clowns Produce 100 Units of Stress. Go ahead and click play on that video and have yourself a good educational fun time learning about the layered stress model. It's actually a really educational episode for us.
Yeah.
We don't always talk about educational stuff, but sometimes we do. We put a little gems in there. But that one is actually about something really awesome. And then the other one is called
The Problem Is We Are Primates.
which is actually an interview with Chad Mackin. If you're familiar with Chad Mackin, he's been a dog trainer for like 30 years. Great guy, really cool. Love his thought process. You watch if you watch it, you'll see my brain like explode and me like get all excited and be like, "Oh my God, Chad!" Like yes, like because I love talking to him. So that was a really awesome episode. So go check those out. They are free. Like just go
100%
watch
free.
them.
Yes.
They're amazing.
Yes.
And then our last thing, Misha, what's our last thing?
Puppyscapes. We are sponsored by Puppyscapes. So what that means is for a limited time, you can get some sweet discounts on some really cool playground type sort of equipment for your dog. You can get small things like jumps. You can get big things that are like straight up freaking jungle gyms for your dogs. Courtney has some come in October, which is really exciting. So we'll actually get to play on it.
Yeah.
And stop using actual parks where children are supposed to play for our dogs.
As a business owner, it's super exciting because they're going to have my logo on them. But like he also makes them with like paw prints on them. So like everyday normal pet owners could also, I mean, they're an investment, but they're really reasonably priced for what they are and the quality that they are. So check them out, puppyscapes.com. Really cool stuff. And really nice guy, Patrick.
Yes, he's from Dublin, Ireland, I think, if I remember correctly. I know, right?
He's local in Austin, though.
Yes.
Free deliveries in Austin.
So if you want to take advantage of either a 5% discount on a single item or 7% on multiple items, what you would do is you'd go to his contact form and say, "Hey, I heard about you through Super Serious Dog Podcast. What up?" Literally phrase it exactly like that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's how you can take advantage of that. Like Courtney said, super nice guy. Made local in Texas, and everything's better in Texas, right? Isn't that the saying? It's better.
That is
right?
what some people say. That has been said.
I know it's supposed to be bigger in Texas, but whatever. Who cares? Cool. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff that we have. So
yeah, those are our announcements. Now let's get into the real super serious shit.
Super serious.
Oh, hang in there, guys. It gets better.
So today's topic was prompted by an article that just kind of circulated through the internet its way to me. And this is a topic that I think is very confusing for a lot of people. There's a lot of just different information out there. And I think this will hopefully kind of explain to you why that is, and also show you that, like, medicine isn't a complete science. Behavior isn't a complete science. We are going to constantly be learning more and more as we go through.
That's what science is.
Yes, exactly. And if you think you're done, you're just in denial.
You're not asking the right questions.
Right.
Because there's more to learn.
There's always more to learn. So the title of this particular article is called Study Gauges Best Canine Sterilization Ages by Breed and Gender. So yes, we are talking about spaying and neutering your pets. When to do it, why you should do it, why you shouldn't do it. Is there, any kind of downsides to doing it or not doing it? It was written by Joan Capuzzi. I don't know if that's actually how you say her last name, but whatever. She went to school for veterinary medicine, but she also is a writer. So she kind of has like a dual purpose or dual career where she does some veterinary stuff, but she also does a lot of writing and research and that kind of stuff. Basically, there is an existing study that has already happened or taken place or whatever, where they examined 40,000 dogs, and they were all Labrador retrievers, golden retrievers, or German shepherds. There's a lot of findings about, wow, there's a lot of risks that increase if you spay and neuter too young, or if you don't do it at all. There's risks of different diseases. So this new study that she's writing about basically expands on that. So they added basically, 32 more breeds, including toy breeds, large breeds, all that kind of stuff, basically popular ones. They covered 3 different joint disorders, several different cancers, pyometra, which is an infection of the uterus that can happen in unaltered females, urinary incontinence specifically in females, and IVDD, which is intervertebral disc disease. Whew, I was practicing that a lot before the show, just so you know, because that is a mouthful.
One of my friend's dogs actually just got diagnosed with that.
Yes. So that is, and that's really sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. That is like something that you'll typically find in like wiener dogs or corgis, long body type sort of doggos. They basically evaluated different age periods. So what happens when you spay or neuter at less than 6 months? What happens when you spay and neuter between 6 to 11 months, 12 to 14 months, or 12 to 24 months, and then 2 to 8 years of age. So let's dig in, shall we? So some of the findings. So about 40% of the dogs studied, there was no change in like risks of cancer or joint disease specifically. So 40% didn't really matter whether it was before 6 months, when they were 3 years old, nothing. But 60% did have a big change. Some of the dogs that and the breeds that were not affected, or just there wasn't a change in risk, I should say, were Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, Dachshunds, Great Danes, Bulldogs, Jack Russell Terriers. There was a whole list, which Great Danes actually kind of surprised me on that one. And we'll talk about why in a little bit, specifically on like joint disease and cancers and that kind of stuff. As far as the breeds where there were discrepancies, it seems kind of like generally speaking, the age of a small breed doesn't really have much of an impact on specifically joint diseases or cancer. However, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Labs, they really urged in this study to sterilize them much later. And they do talk about specifically males versus females as well, because there are a lot of discrepancies even within those breeds, the sex of the animal or the whatever. Yeah. Some interesting fun facts. So significantly reducing the risk of, which one is this one? This is cancer and joint diseases. 6 to 12 months for Rotties and Labs. If you wait till they're at least 6 to 12 months old, you will significantly reduce the risk for Rotties and Labs. Whereas German Shepherds, you should wait till they're at least 2 years old. Male Beagles, Golden Retrievers, and miniature poodles, you should wait until they're about a year old for joint disease purposes. However,
Miniature poodles.
Miniature,
That's
not
interesting.
not full
That's
size.
specific, because like the generalization was like small breeds,
Yes,
but specifically these poodles. So like you really have to pay attention in these studies, like the way they classify different things.
Yes, and if you have a mixed breed pound puppy,
yeah.
I'm shrugging for those of you who can't see me right now. And then as far as like cancer statistics goes, male and female border collies and boxers are probably at the highest risk for complications if you spay and neuter them too early. Boxers, they say, don't spay them before age 2. And the specific statistics are the risk went from 11% to 20% if you neutered them too soon or spayed them too soon. Specifically for males, it went from 17 to 32% if you neutered them too soon, which is that's pretty significant. That's huge. Yeah. Border collies wait till they're a year. It didn't specify whether males or females. So yeah. Then they go into more detail about like other cancers and pyometra. Apparently St. Bernards, Rottweilers, Shetland sheepdogs. There's a 12% increase in risk if they're not spayed of getting that. And that's something that typically develops much later in life. They don't typically tend to see that early on. It can happen. But that's pretty nuts. So, Courtney, when somebody asks you, hey, I know you're not a vet, but like, when should I spay or neuter my puppy I just got? What are your thoughts on that? What do you usually tell people?
It depends.
And this is why. Ta-da! It really depends.
It really depends. It depends on their reasoning. It depends on their vet recommendation. It depends on so many things. The breed of the dog. It's a conversation to have, and I think they should get a lot of opinions, and I stress that ultimately it's their decision on what they want to do with their dog, and they need to know the risks on all sides. What I don't like is, unfortunately, the rescue situation in the U.S., and how they do a lot of like very, very young spay and neuters.
Like we're talking like 8 weeks old.
Or guys. Younger.
Sometimes younger, yes.
Younger than 8 weeks. And like that is not okay. But I understand their reasoning for doing it. So I don't take a strong, like, you should never do that, because I also understand what they're trying to prevent by doing it. So like, don't get mad at me for saying that I think it's dumb to spay a dog under 8 weeks. I just developmentally for the dog, for a shitload of reasons, think it's dumb. It's a tough call to make, though. There is no concrete answer. There is no, you should always wait till they're 18 months. You should always wait till they're 3. You should always wait till they're 6 months. Like, it's a case by case thing, and every person has to make those decisions and take those risks and know what they're dealing with. Like I have an intact female. Because she's a border collie, and I knew I didn't want to spay her before she was 2. And then COVID happened, and it's just not a priority right now. It's like, well, I mean, I've already dealt with it for 2 years. Yeah. Not going anywhere. Nothing's really changing. I do plan to spay her sometime before she hits her senior years. Just to, like, because what that study sounds like, and what I've mostly heard, is there's some happy medium.
Yep.
Where you're most likely to prevent joint diseases and cancers. But, on that note, also, you could live the most healthiest life. You could do everything, quote unquote, right. You could eat the perfect food. You could, all of these things. And your dog could still get cancer, or your dog could get hit by a car, or a million things could happen to your dog. So you're always taking a risk. And unfortunately, dogs just don't live forever. And that's just a hard pill to swallow. Yeah.
For you personally, what was your reasoning for wanting to wait until Phoebe was 2?
For Phoebe specifically, I knew I knew I didn't want to do it before a year because of what I had heard about cancer issues, as well as her developmental problems in her back legs and how weak they were. We had a period of fear. We had a pretty long fear period, and I just wanted to keep as much hormones as we could pumping through the body because, hormones give you confidence.
They do a lot.
They do a lot.
Hormones do a lot of different things.
Right.
A lot. They regulate hunger. They regulate all kinds of crazy things. So
I wanted to keep her as naturally intact as possible. I didn't want to alter her chemicals. I wanted to get her as built up as possible. I wanted to get her joints as strong as they could be, and her body to grow as much as it could with what I saw in her. Reddy was intact until he was about 3 or 4.
Didn't his testicles like bruise really badly, or am I thinking of Dublin?
I think you might be thinking of Dublin.
Okay.
Reddy
One of our friends' dogs had like horribly bruised nuts. They were like purple for like 2 weeks. It was bad. She had to ice her dog's balls.
I do not remember that. I don't think that was me.
No,
Reddy
I think
had
that was Kelly.
A patch of hair that covered his balls. So honestly, I forgot they were there a lot of the times because like I never saw them unless he was sleeping on his back with those legs spread.
And then they were so red and
they
angry
were
looking.
Yeah, they're just like pink red things, and I was like, gross. Honestly, the only reason I decided to get him neutered was because I was doing a lot of hiking. And when we would pass other dogs, the other dogs would target him out of a group of dogs.
Yeah.
We had several close calls of fights, and it was like painfully obvious that he smelled different and they were going after him.
Yeah.
And so it was putting him in bad situations, and we weren't at a great place in my life. We weren't at a great place in my life, and I was like, this is too much stress for both of us, and it's taking away our enjoyment of this hiking thing that we do together. So we're going to go ahead and get you neutered. And he was, very confident, drivey dog, and it didn't change much, honestly. Yep. He was very much the same.
Right. Yeah, I kind of agree with you that I think I told you this earlier when we were hanging out with Puppy, that I strongly urge my clients when they ask me that question to get multiple opinions. I tell them to at least call 3 different vets, including their own, or are on top of their own usually, but ideally at least 3 different sources.
Right.
And ask specifically about like just general guidelines, if they have like any specific age or breed specific requirements. A lot of times what the vet will say is, well, let's bring them in for an exam. But if you tell them like, no, I'm just trying to do my research and just trying to get other opinions, like that kind of stuff, usually they'll kind of give you at least a ballpark, right?
Right.
And if they're not willing to, then move on until you can call some other vets, because I know that's not really that they're not giving us specific medical advice as like, oh, take these pills, right? Like they're never going to do that without an exam, right? And then also I encourage them to look stuff up and sort of do what sits right with them. And it's specifically because I've heard anecdotal evidence that like, oh, when I spayed or neutered this dog that I had, this puppy, their temperament changed in a positive way. They were starting to show aggression and it nipped it in the bud. But honestly, personally, in all my years, I have never seen a dog who has truly had aggression issues get neutered or spayed and it really changed much. Because honestly, at that point, it's the dog's set in habits. It's not necessarily hormones causing it. I used to be one of those people that would be like, what? They don't have their dogs spayed or neutered? Like, ew, like, oh my God, aren't they going to have an accidental baby? But it's like, I don't get accidentally knocked up. Like, that's not a thing. And like, I personally, like for me, this may be TMI, but too bad. I'm not really like a big birth control person. Like personally for me, I think it really fucks with me. I don't like the way I am when I am on it. I have had to take it for migraine purposes and for other health reasons, but generally speaking, I tried to avoid it as much as possible because it makes me crazy. And I don't like it. And so I can imagine what having a hysterectomy might be like. And I've had family members who have had hysterectomies, and that's what's happening. Like, people don't realize that when a dog goes in and gets spayed or neutered, they're not just having a vasectomy, and they still get to keep all those organs intact, which is very beneficial to their system as a whole, in my opinion. They just pull everything out. No more testicles. They castrate and they remove the uterus. Which, if your dog is at a high risk for pyometra, sure, maybe that is something to consider, of course, because an internal infection sucks no matter where it is. But like, that's pretty fucked up.
So a lot of the people that are okay, I've noticed, I'm not going to generalize everyone, but from what I have noticed in people I have interacted with, is that people will be super anti ear cropping and tail docking, and dew claw removal and things like that, because that's inhumane and that is animal abuse, to put a dog through something like that for aesthetic purposes. But an invasive surgery is to mutilate their sex organs, just so that you don't have to be responsible for an accidental or what their hormones tell them to do. You're taking the easy way out a little bit.
Just a little bit, right? And that being said, like, there's always going to be gray area, right? Like, you could very much argue like, well, ear cropping's purely aesthetic. So that's aesthetic, whereas spaying and neutering is functional. And especially if somebody's doing it because they want to prevent cancer.
Right. Like, not all ear cropping is purely aesthetic. Like, there are lots of benefits to having a dog with stand-up ears rather than a dog with floppy ears. Because those closed ear canals are way more prone to ear infections.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I don't particularly know the reason off the top of my head, but I'm sure that there was a good reason for originally docking dogs' ears.
Right.
Probably had to do with their working purpose.
Yes.
You know? And it's the same thing with docking their tails. Like, there was a purpose to it originally.
Right.
Remember, dogs don't serve hardly any of the purposes they were built for nowadays. So, like, there's a lot.
Right.
No.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot. Like, I don't know. If you guys can't tell, I don't take a firm stance on like either side of this argument. Yeah.
And just to be clear, like, if you decided, hey, I really want to spay or neuter my puppy at 4 months old, right? My vet recommended it to me. I'm going to do it, right? Like, we're not going to freaking judge you. That is not our place at all. You have to make those decisions. You have to hopefully make an informed decision that's right for you and your dogs. Both of my boy dogs are neutered, and I was all for it. I probably would do it again.
Yeah, like I said, I neutered Reddy because I was tired of him getting picked on. Like, that is technically a selfish reason to neuter a dog.
Right. But like, my next dog, like, it's probably going to be a girl and she's going to be a puppy, and I probably won't spay her for a while. I don't know if I ever will or if I won't, or what age. I think it's just going to depend. I'm looking at a few different breeds. So I'm going real slow with this whole like picking out a puppy thing, if you guys can't tell. Yesterday, Courtney and I were hanging out with another friend, and she was like, Misha's the most responsible person who wants a puppy I've ever met, because it is taking her for fucking ever.
Yeah. You and like Ivy's mom.
Yeah.
Ivy's mom wanted her for a while. And then found out about me before she got Ivy.
Oh, that's
what she
awesome.
told me. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it when people find a trainer before they get the dog. It's amazing. It always baffles me when, like, you know, I've worked at places where like we have a high volume of dogs that come in for training and stuff. And it always baffled me when people would be like, yeah, just call us back when you get the dog. And I'm like, no. Start teaching them shit now.
Yeah.
Send them resources now.
The dog is a distraction.
Yes, exactly. So whatever you decide to do, right? Do your freaking homework. screw people that may judge you.
Yeah, I was
If
gonna
you go
say
to the
whatever
dog park.
whatever you do, whatever
Or
you
children.
do, like just stick to it. And like if
Yep.
like people are gonna judge you regardless. There are so many sides to this argument that
Yes.
intact people are gonna judge people who have their dogs fixed, and vice versa, and all the in between. And then there's people like me who just like don't care as long as you're being responsible.
Yes.
If I see you being irresponsible and I don't think you can handle what your dog is, and your dog is breaking out of your gate every day
Right.
to go fuck
Yeah.
the neighbor dogs, like I'm going to tell you to neuter your dog
Yep.
because you're not being a responsible dog owner.
Right. Right.
So
Exactly.
like it's a case by case thing.
Yeah. And if we're going to post the link to the article specifically in the show notes, or in the description, so you'll be able to have access to it and read it yourself and do some more reading and that kind of stuff. There's a ton of sources listed in there too, so you could go down a very deep rabbit hole if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, like even from just this one teeny tiny little article, you can tell there's a lot of discrepancy and a lot of things that you have to really, like even within one breed, male versus female might have drastically different outcomes for associated risks.
Because I didn't read the article. Misha just taught me about the article. Do you know if they used like a litter of that breed or if they pulled from different litters? Because like the genetic makeup might have an
yes
impact as well.
Like family lines and stuff.
Right.
I don't know. That would probably be in the sources for the article, which I honestly, I didn't delve into. I just saw all the sources and was like, cool, there's good sources here.
Lots of them.
Because like if I see an article that doesn't have that, I'm automatically like, major big hunk of salt is going to, not just a grain, a big hunk of salt's going to go in there. It did say, I wrote a note on like what, there was something about the dog specifically.
Dang, I broke Misha, guys. I asked
No,
her
you
question.
didn't break. I was taking, I wrote notes. No, I didn't. I don't know. I don't know that information. So
fair enough.
You can go look that up yourself though. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting ride coming from rescue to where I am now, specifically because like I said, I used to be pretty fucking judgmental about a lot of things.
Yeah.
As you do when you're young and think you're doing the right thing and part of a big movement.
I think a lot of new people in the dog world are very judgmental. And I think a lot of older people in the dog world are very judgmental. But there are a couple of us in between. And that's where I like to stay. Of just like, you do you. And just please try to be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And just pay attention to what the dog is doing and what it needs.
One other thing that I actually just thought of is also there are considerations for like boarding and daycare type sort of places and that sort of stuff. There are some places that will say you cannot come in here and bring your dog in here or board your dog with us unless they are spayed or neutered.
There's a ton of places like that. That's, as far as I know, very
Yes.
standard operating procedure. There's only a few places that will accept intact dogs, and that is unfortunate. But I also, just like with rescue, totally understand why they have to put down that generalization. Because, I mean, I started off as a kennel tech. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
You were getting paid like $9 an hour. Tops.
Exactly. And I picked up a lot of poop. I listened to a lot of music and I played with dogs. And, putting an intact dog in a yard full of not intact dogs, like what I explained with Reddy, kind of makes them a target. So you have to be aware of what's happening. You have to step in. You have to make sure you mediate those conversations. And if you don't have the skill set to do that, a lot of damage could happen.
Right.
So they have to do that to keep themselves as a business safe.
So don't be discouraged by that. Just keep looking around and see if there are other places. And if you ultimately decide, you know what, I need access to these types of services because I work a lot or whatever, right? Or just I want to utilize, I really like this place. My last dog went there, whatever it is, right? Just make an informed decision. Don't just do something because that's the way you've always done it. That is always a big fallacy.
That's
that
like
people do. With
like
dogs.
I said, that's the science is learning more and asking more questions and realizing that maybe your opinion is wrong and you should change it based off science and what you've learned.
And maybe there's new information present, right?
Exactly.
So you should just look. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to Google stuff. It's very easy to find information these days. It's kind of sometimes
there is a lot of information out there, and it is overwhelming. And analysis paralysis is a real thing because then you have no idea what the fuck you're supposed to do because it is so conflicting. So that's also why we say, you know, when you do make a decision, stick to it. It's your decision. Like, do the damn thing. It's fine.
I'm gonna leave you guys with, before we go, I'm gonna leave you guys with a little nugget of I guess wisdom or something.
Wisdom? What? Go drop some wisdom on these kids.
So there's a fun saying. I didn't hear this until like literally this year. I was watching a YouTuber. She was explaining like how to craft something or whatever, and she gave some really good advice on like how to research, right, for your project. But I think this applies everywhere, and that is basically if you have a question, before you just go rushing to somebody else to get the answer, aka just rushing to your vet, there's a really fun little sing-song, catchy little thing that will help you out. Ask 3, then me.
Sing-song.
Right? Ask 3, then me. So what that means is go to 3 different sources. Google, right? Go to the library, whatever, right? And that can be 3 different sources on Google, 3 totally different ones. Here's a rescues website. Here's, Oxford freaking whatever university's website. Is that a university? I can't remember. Oxford? Yeah, University of Oxford. Okay. Yes. I had to, sorry, brain fart, right? And then maybe go ask your vet. Or
it's okay. I don't know my universities very well. I'm not a
It's
scholar.
One of those world famous ones in across the ocean.
Harvard? No.
Harvard's here. But yes.
I'm done.
Yeah. But yeah, or whether that's ask 3 different vets and then go ask your own personal vet. And then that way, when you come to them, you have an informed decision, or you have an informed question, right? You're not just saying, hey, how do I train my dog? Right. And I think that applies for dog training as well, because like, well, what do you mean? What does training mean to you? Is that sit? Do you just want me to teach your dog sit? Do you want your dog to be super obedient and respond to a shitload of commands? Or do you just want your dog to not be an asshole, right? And you don't care if it listens to you when you say sit, as long as
that all falls under the umbrella of training.
Right. So the same
you want
kind
to
of
do tricks. You want to do a fucking backflip. Like,
right. So you have to kind of do some digging and define that stuff. So ask 3, then me. I think that's going to save you a lot of headaches and also help you just be a better dog owner in general. And maybe you'll apply that to your personal life. Who knows?
Look at you with your little nuggets of wisdom. No.
Nuggets.
Somebody put that in their pocket and just take it with them. Take it.
Somebody's be like, oh my God, I heard that when I was like 4. Whatever, Misha.
Yeah, but then some other person is going to be like, I heard this thing on a podcast the other day and I have a question. So maybe I should look at 3 places and then make an informed decision.
I very much have a tendency to go like immediately ask people when I'll be in the middle of like doing something and my first instinct is always to go ask someone, because I just learn better that way. I'm more hands-on. But that can be really fucking annoying when you have to like stop and start and ask somebody like 10 different questions over and over again. So, it's very valuable information for me. But yeah, well, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, we just released 2 free Patreon episodes, so definitely go check those out. Clowns produce 100 units of stress, and
not 1,000, just 100. Calm down.
100. Clowns produce 100 units of stress. And the other episode is The Problem Is We Are Primates. So check those out. If you like it, you can definitely subscribe. If you want to support us financially, etc., go to patreon.com/super serious dog podcast. I almost said something totally different.
Okay, we know what our podcast is called. We're totally into this. This is super serious. We always take it super seriously, as you can see or hear if you're not watching.
Yes, exactly. You can also email us at superseriousdogpodcast@gmail.com. Try saying that 10 times fast.
I was going to
also.
say, also, if you send us a video of you saying Super Serious Dog Podcast 10 times fast, we'll give you a prize.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
I don't know what the prize is going to be, but it'll be cool.
That doesn't matter. It'll be cool.
Yes.
Try it.
Did I ever tell you about the time
This is how Misha wraps up a show, guys.
with an ADD outro. Did I ever tell you about the time that I won a like little portable to go reusable coffee cup from Einzwick Dog Quip? Because
yes, you have that. You did tell me about that.
So basically, the Canine Paradigm has this pre-recorded intro. Recorded by this guy, Lofty Fulton, who has this like super deep, silky freaking.
One day we'll have one of those pre-recorded intros.
One day, but he's got a very silky, deep Australian voice, and it's a really fun intro. And who doesn't enjoy a good accent? And so they were like, "All right, if you can do your best Lofty Fulton impersonation, you will win a prize, right?" And nobody did it. And I was like, you guys are crazy. And I can't tell you how many times I recorded it because like it took me a while because I kept freaking laughing.
To sound like a sultry Australian man.
Just doing an accent in general, like and like sticking the landing on it and being like
all right, well, if you can say Super Serious Dog Podcast 10 times with an accent, we'll give you 2 prizes.
No, fuck that. Honestly, if you can do that, like I will just give my business to you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm realistic, so they'll try it. Come on.
Yes, if you can do that, I'm gonna prize. All right, that's it.
Are we done?
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Super Serious Dog Podcast. Super Serious Dog Podcast. Woo!